That's the big selling
From
point.
Comcast, that's like a punishment.
For you-
Sell to us,
Yeah,
or
right,
we'll give you cable.
You, your family, do you mind to go like in the front lines?
Sure, yeah.
Come on down, we don't bite.
So it looks
You
like
want,
the
so when
video-
people look in the door, it looks like there's some people here?
Right. Also in the video, because it is like streaming, they
That'll
have
be the capital fact, oh, it's a busy place to go.
Like anybody
Go to the
is a-
front, you know.
Expect a lot of people tonight.
Okay, he's already streaming.
I don't know.
I can see. So, where do you work?
I wanna do
I
some
work for myself.
database stuff on it.
It's the best job ever.
Yeah.
Really? Sales plus marketing plus development, you know, it's like.
I don't know, I don't enjoy working, I work from home, so I'm the only one often, and I like, actually, everybody's like, oh, that must be wonderful, I'm like, nah, I like working with people,
I
and
like
me
working
going in
with
the
people.
office, and
Yeah.
schmoozing, and,
Like maybe every day is too much, but like couple times a week. could be
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, like on Friday, or, yeah, one, you know, 3, 4, yeah, but every day I'm like,
Yeah, I agree.
and I Skype, and then, like, I have a dev team, but they're overseas, so it's like,
That's right. I don't know about the microphone, if the audio is fine. Let me check with the guy.
We're gonna have a lot of pizza.
well, sometimes people roll at night, but yeah, more for me,
There you go.
more beer for me.
Are these all the same, or are they different?
I have not checked below the pepperoni.
These have pies is my favorite. So what do you do from home?
Oh, I'm a programmer and I run a dev team, so. I'd say I'm the VP of development, but there's like 5 of us, so it's kind of pretentious to say that, so.
Seems like
Chief cat herder.
seems like that's where the market's gonna go. Like in the next 10 years, a lot of people working from home more.
Yeah, I mean, I hope
So much money they can save.
the tools get better. I mean, it's, you know, there's the productivity trap where you wind up working too much. Like I constantly tell my guys to stop working, you know, because they wind up syncing to me. I have a team that's in Ukraine, and you know, I'll be doing something and they'll start messaging me, and I'll be like, then I'll look and be like, guys, it's midnight, stop it, stop working. So I think that's the danger, right? Well, yeah, I mean, you get into your, when you're programming, you get into your thing, but you know, it's like, you know, get up and breathe.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
hard to have that work-life balance.
Yeah, but I find I tend to goof off more when I'm home.
So I find like 2 MongoDB users. What about you guys? Which database are you using?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, no. Looking for the first shotgun.
Okay. What about you?
What was the question?
Which database are you using in your
Oh
company?
gosh, we're using several.
Or
We're
relational?
using some traditional SQL database, we're also using Elasticsearch. And thinking about a couple of other things.
Are you using Kibana also with Elasticsearch?
We're playing around with it, but not really.
Okay. Because I'm seeing that most of the users of Elasticsearch are because of Kibana. Not really.
I use the crap out of Elasticsearch, and I don't actually use Kibana at all.
Okay. And how many of you guys pay a company, the database company? So MongoDB you're using for free, everybody using for free. Do you have like any contract with the database company, or you just use database for free? Everybody free. Okay, awesome. What about the UT fan about database? Which database are you using?
I just use SQL, but I'm just learning right now.
Okay. Which SQL?
I don't even know. It's the one that's on Team Treehouse. Have you ever been on that site? It teaches you how to code. So they have like a little application on there where you can practice.
Okay.
Probably MySQL.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. So we will wait 10 minutes hoping for other people. Maybe they're late.
I usually roll into these late. So people might show up.
So how are you seeing adoption?
About OrientDB, we did 4 times since the previous year.
4 times?
4 times, yeah. And I have a slide about the growing adoption. So we have the most growing, the fastest growing database in the top 50 database of all the time. We gained like 24 position in just 1 year. So now we are like number 42 database, 42nd database of the world, and there is like Informix and also Access like database that have a lot of users still. So we are growing very, very fast. It's not very popular like MongoDB, but it's completely different. So most of the people use OrientDB as a graph database actually. So most of the people come to OrientDB because they don't want to use Neo4j because it's too expensive. But OrientDB is much more than a graph database. It's a multi-model database. So we created this concept a long time ago, but nobody knew that they needed a multi-model database because they didn't exist this category in the NoSQL space. But now most of the vendors like DataStax, Cassandra, MongoDB, Couchbase, they already announced to be multi-model this year or the next year. So multi-model is becoming very hot right now, and I try to explain why. But basically because maybe one database is okay, but your domain is very complex, so you always have compromises in your database. For example, if you have MongoDB, you can fit your model in a document, but I bet that everybody has some kind of relationship between documents. You cannot express this relationship, so you have to do like embedding, so a lot of duplicates. So based on the database that you pick in the NoSQL space, they are not like you cannot use it for very complex domain unless you change your domain to fit in the database. So this is the reason. With a multi-model database, so the engine, the core, is able to manage different things, different models at the same time. So I'll try to explain with the slide. Hi, what's your name?
Ravi,
Ravi. Which company?
IBM.
Okay, cool. IBM in Research Boulevard?
Yeah, close to domain,
Yeah.
right opposite to
Yeah.
domain.
We are working together for the Power implementation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have a Power implementation of OrientDB.
okay.
And we worked with the research and development here in Austin a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool. Let's wait 7 more minutes. So I suggest you guys to get pizza because now it's warm, and the beer, there is no ice. So grab the beer as soon as possible. It is warm.
Did you pick the beer?
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah, this is Italian beer. Nobody knows because we are more famous for wine.
Uh-huh.
You know,
It's a really good
isn't-
beer.
It's very soft, nothing special, but it's very common. So
It's different.
Yes.
It's different than,
yeah, just to bring like more Italy here in this event. Also pizza, of course, but it's American style.
Free streaming?
Yes. Hey guys, can I ask you to go like in the freeze line, the freeze rows? Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
The OrientDB t-shirts.
Yeah, grab t-shirts, stickers, into the sleeve. So IBM, which database are you using? Now DB2, I guess.
MongoDB.
MongoDB. Wow. You have like an army of people that use MongoDB. Wow.
It's quite popular, right?
Yeah. What about you? What's your name?
Louise,
Luis. Welcome. Which is your company?
I'm with Global Data Geeks.
Okay. Are you using a database, a NoSQL database?
No, we're were just interested in your product. We put on Data Day, Texas,
Okay,
so.
that's cool.
We also use CouchDB.
CouchDB, right?
How IBM Cloud App uses
Yes, yeah.
CouchDB basically.
Yeah. There is a team in IBM actually that are using OrientDB. I think it's a couple of them.
Oh, really?
Like one in Seattle and one in Austin.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. 4 more minutes. Have you parked in the building?
Oh, I didn't, yeah. Did we go through here for the,
In the reception you can get the like just $5 you
Yeah,
can pay the parking.
this guy right out here at the desk gives you a little card.
Hi. Welcome. Grab pizza because it's warm and beer because it's cold, before it's too late. Or Coke or whatever. I think we can start. Okay guys, so the title of this presentation is Why Your Project Deserves a Multi-Model Database. And I'm the CEO and founder of OrientDB project. It's an open source database. I want to start with a very bad news. 60% of a big data project will fail in 2017. I'm sorry. This is pretty new. Like a few days ago, Gartner made this statement, so you can find on Twitter. It's pretty recent. Why big data are failing? I identify 7 reasons. Because we have to integrate our project with the existing databases. Usually are relational databases, but sometimes they are like CVS file, very different sources. Usually we underestimate the complexity of integrating all these amount of sources, and then create a new project, usually analytics on top of all this information. There is slow adaptation to the changing requirements. So when we design a big data project, maybe we use a Hadoop or other technology, maybe we have a lot of ETL between databases. And every time we have to change the requirement, or somebody change the requirements, we have to change also the ETL, so it's a lot of work. It's very hard to choose the right technologies because there are more than 300 databases so far. So we have a lot of technologies. It's very hard. So maybe it takes like a couple of years if you want to try like the first 20 databases. If you want to try before you go in production, it takes like a couple of years. If you're using Polyglot persistence, so multiple databases at the same time, you need multiple skills. Because, for example, in the NoSQL, there are no standards. If you are a master with MongoDB and you want to switch to CouchDB, they are not the same product. There is no standard. The language is different. Everything is different. So, usually, projects with a lot of databases require people with multiple skills. Also, lack of performance and scalability. It's very hard to predict at the beginning how will be the performance, the final performance of your project, because there are too many components in the same project, right? And very often, the most common reason is that you're running out of budget. So you think that, okay, I can do this in X money, but at the end it will cost much more. Big data. Big data are just data, right? So we have a lot of information, like billion and billion of data. But actually data without relationships are without a meaning. So it's the relationship of the data that gives the meaning of the data itself, right? But if we look to the NoSQL products out there, we can see that there are key values, document, column, and also graph databases. Why graph databases are different than other products? Why? Do you know the reason? Why I put in this in separate circle? Which is the difference of the graph databases against the other NoSQL products?
Is it constant time record relationship?
Wow, awesome, perfect, yeah, that's right. So they take care about relationship, and they have this special way to resolve the relationship. So why most of the NoSQL product, they just avoid relationship? Because the join, the joins are the evil. The join is the main reason why in the last like 20 years, we created data warehouse, ETL. So we try to export the database in flat tables in order to be faster, right? Because the join. So the join is I don't know if everybody's familiar with the join, but when you use a relational database, you are connecting actually different data by using a key. So in this case, the customer John, number 10, is connected with the two address, right? So the 10. And these two addresses are connected to a location. It's very stupid, simple example, but just to understand the join. But why joins are so slow? The main reason is that the first rule with the join is you need an index, right? So with an index, it's not that slow. Actually, it's still slow if you have a lot of data. Why? This is an example about if I wanna look up my name in just an address book. So if I'm looking for my name, usually the indexes are balanced trees. So if I'm looking for the Luca, my name, I'm looking for the L. So the L is on the left part, right? Now is on the right part of the leaf. Then on the right part, right again. Found it. Okay. This example is just a few names, but can you imagine if you have like million of records in these tables, and you want to do like a join between two, 3, or 4 tables altogether? You have like billions of joins, so it's super expensive. Especially because in index, the performance are dependent by the depth of the index, right? So it's a log n operation. So the more database increase in size, the less performance you have. There is nothing you can do. This is normal with relational databases. And also all the other databases, they are based on index when you want to resolve the relationship by using the index. How many of you experience this problem when the database is getting bigger, it's super slow? How many of you? Okay, almost everybody. So let me introduce you the graph databases. So somebody already knows the graph databases, but maybe not everybody. So we want to start from the graph databases, even though the title of this presentation is about multimodal. Why? Let's talk about graph theory. So graph theory sounds like complicated, something from school, right? Anything you need to know is that a graph is a set of vertices or node is the same, and edges or arcs. So vertex is the information, arc is the connection. This is the most simple graph ever. So Luca visited Austin. So I have 2 vertices, and this is the relationship. You can see the relationship as a name, and as also a direction. So it's Luca that visits Austin, it's not the opposite, of course. We are looking here for the property graph model. There are a lot of different graph models, but most of the graph databases, they all implement the property graph model. So with this model, I can set properties on vertices and edges in a schemaless way. So pretty much the same like MongoDB. I can just get a vertex, set properties, right? So not only on the vertices, but also on the edge. So I visited Austin this year, so I can set any properties on the relationship. The cool thing is that every single edge connects to only 2 vertices. And there is a direction, but I can also traverse the relationship in the opposite direction, right? So I can start from Austin to get all the people that live in Austin. But what about multiple relationship? Simple, just create multiple edges, because an edge can just connect two vertices. So if you need more relationship, just create two edges. And every single edge can have different properties. Cool. It's not really complicated, right?
So is it only one directional or can it be bidirectional? So if you want to query who all visited Austin, so it should be other way also.
Right. We have a direction like outgoing, incoming. So if I wanna look to all the people that visit Austin, I can start from Austin and get all the incoming connection, right? But if I wanna see all the cities that Luca visited, I can start from Luca and get all the outgoing connection, right? Maybe I have like, I don't care the type, or I wanna get just all the count of the cities that Luca live in, not just visit.
Can you store arrays in each node?
Sorry, say again?
Can you store arrays of properties in each node?
Right.
So like constant array length of 100 of ints in per node.
You can store a lot of properties. There is no limitation like
No, I understand properties, but for a property array of some type.
Oh yes, we support arrays, right? Not all the graph databases can do that. Like Neo4j doesn't support array. But OrientDB you can store array, you can store set, list, map, and embedding object. We can see it later. Okay, so with the graph database, the paradigm is very different from the relational database or other databases. Well, you usually do execute queries, right? So select, for example, it's SQL, select start from a table where the condition. With the graph database, the paradigm, you can use it like a relational database actually. It works pretty well. But if you want to use the entire power of the graph database, the paradigm switch from query to traversal. So in this case, it's very simple, like e-commerce application. I can create root vertices to connect all my instances. For example, all the customers, I can connect with the root vertex called customers, right? I can create like a special customer. If I wanna, instead of tag every single vertex, I can create another root vertex to connect to just few customers. The same for stock and the same for orders, right? So in this case, if I wanna know the orders of Jill, I can start from Jill, get all the outgoing connection, and get the order. But if I want to know what Jill ordered, like in terms of product, I can do like outgoing. Okay, so 2 steps forward. If I want to know who bought the white soap, I can get all the incoming connection from this product. I will look for this order and then Jill. Okay, so I can cross this graph like a spider on a web. So all the data is connected. So everything is a graph. Actually, when you import a relational database in OrientDB, you can see the same database, very same database as a graph, because data is already connected, but we never thought about it. We use it usually in different ways. Okay, so graph databases are different, but why they are faster than relational databases? How they resolve the join problem, right? So do graph databases use a join? Actually, some graph databases, they are using join, actually. So they have the graph database, but under the hood there is a relational database or other kind of databases under the hood. So you still have the same problem. But the kind of graph database that I'm analyzing here is the database without join, and we call index-free adjacency. So we can cross the relationship without using the index. Right now, as far as I know, only OrientDB and Neo4j support this mode. So how does it work? We have pointers, persistent pointers. So like in memory, we have pointers to your object, we have persistent pointers. So every single object here has a pointer. A pointer in OrientDB is in terms of 2 numbers. So the first one is the class name, and the second name, the second number is the position inside the class. So what really matters is that I can use, oh, by the way, OrientDB supports SQL, so you don't have to learn yet another language. For example, we can start from, if we know the pointer, so the ID of Jill, for example, I can start select, we can see this later, from this pointer, so I get Jill. But I'm not interested in Jill, I'm interested in all the outgoing connection, right? So I can use out or in, out for going, in for incoming. If I don't know the ID of the vertex, I can do a query like this. So select whatever from customer where name equals to. So in this case, OrientDB uses an index. So graph databases, they have indexes, but they are not used for relationship. They are just used for lookup. So you look up like the starting vertex and then you cross without indexes, okay? If I'm interested not in the order, but in the product, I can just do out, okay? I can do out, dot in, I can cross the graph in any order. Now it's very simple, just out, but if I want to cross just a kind of relationship, like Jill bought something, I can express out only bought, because maybe Jill has other relationships like friends, companies, I don't know. So this is just the basic of graph database, just to understand how they work and how they are different from the relational database models. Of course, the same I can do from the while so. So I can start from the while so if I have the pointer, if I have the ID or just a query, and I get the incoming connection, right? To get who bought the soap in this case. These record ID actually are like a primary key, but they are assigned by the database, so you cannot control this. It's just an ID, a unique ID, immutable, so it never changes. And you can use it in your application. It's super fast, so you have O of 1, so it costs some time to look up that information because you are not using index. You go directly straight to the vertex on edge, or you can use an index if you don't know the ID. Like pretty much the same like in relational database or databases when you are using index. But once you found the starting vertex or edge, you can cross the graph, the subgraph, the tree, in a super fast performance because you don't use an index.
So wait, that would be like, let's say in a SQL database, I want to say I want, customer with ID 47. That's still log n, right? Because you have to traverse the index. But you're saying if I had the ID of white soap here, that would be constant time. That would be.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. I've seen somebody that uses this ID in the application because they don't want to use an index at all. I've seen databases without any index because they use this pointer converted in the application level. This is worse, or sometimes it's much better creating like a unique, like
You still have to
ID.
search the node that is ID, that's unique, like some part of that node makes it unique, right? So like, for example,
Yeah.
Jill is a unique person. Her name plus her first and last name or her email, that combination makes a unique ID.
In
So
this
whether
case, you need an index. You still need an index. You need
So
an
you have to
index.
go to the graph, you go to Orient, you can say, select all nodes where first name
Right.
is Jill. And then
Right.
that gives you a list and say there should be only one because it's unique. Then you get the index and then you go back. to the
That's
graph,
right. That's right. Yeah. Sometimes you just use an index to be sure that it's unique, right? So you don't want to duplicate. But maybe then you use the pointers. But you want to just a constraint in the database. So with this index-free adjacency, you have the constant time. So no matter if you have 1 or 100 billion on record, the traversing time is constant. It never changes for this reason. While with a classic index-based algorithm, you are always log n. Maybe with an hash index, you can be better than log n, but it's still close to log n. That's it. So all the graph is not super complicated, just vertex, edges, traversal. That's it. There is nothing really complicated. Actually, it's so easy, so simple to be very, very powerful. So we can use graph database for all our projects, right? Not really, because they are very, very powerful, but they are not really, they cannot support very, very, very complex domain. You still have to adapt your application to be a graph. Sometimes maybe your domain could be like 100% a graph, but sometimes maybe you need for example, nesting a document, a vertex inside another one. Like this is feature is typical of document database like MongoDB. So the fact that we are using multiple databases in the same project, this is very common today. It's called Polyglot persistence. It's like NoSQL 1.0H. So you can use the NoSQL database you want. So maybe, for example, with the e-commerce application like Booking.com, you wanna use the Redis because it's super fast key value. Maybe you wanna cache part of the database in Redis. Makes sense, right? MongoDB for the product catalog because it's very flexible. You can there is no schema, right? For the recommendation, so if you like this hotel, maybe you like also this other hotel. This is the classic recommendation, and usually a graph database is used. So maybe you want Neo4j to do the recommendation, right? Then maybe you have the transactional part where people just pay. People pay for the hotel, and you don't trust about on databases they have no transaction. So maybe you want to use MySQL because they have transaction, right? And you have for sure also a search bar, whatever your website, and usually you use Elasticsearch or Solr. So you have a lot of databases in your application. And the bad news is that there is no standard. There is no standard between these databases. Also in the same category, like document databases, CouchDB and MongoDB, they don't talk to each other. Different language, different structure, completely different. So it's up to you, right? All the ETL, the move data, or usually the same application is able to interact with different databases. So when you are rendering the page, for example, you get the information from MongoDB, the product catalog, you fill with the recommendation of the next hotels. Maybe you, with Redis, you have the current session, you can see that, 10 users are looking for the same hotel, so hurry up, right? So you can use a lot of databases in the same page by running the same page, but of course this is a lot of complicated. So you have to interact with different databases, you have more latency because you have to query different databases. You need different skills because maybe you are an expert on MongoDB, but you don't know anything about Neo4j, for example, right? So this is a classic Polyglot persistent in action where you have different products, and usually you don't use ETL, but it's your application that synchronizes data.
What's ETL?
ETL is extraction, transformation, loading. It's the classic operation when you extract information from a source, you transform it in some way, and you load in another database. So this was the NoSQL 1.0, so all different products, very, very specific. Some products of NoSQL, they don't have even the backup or store. They don't even users concept. It's up to you, right? So after 2015, the multimodal is becoming hot. So a lot of people are investing in multimodal. Most of the vendors, the biggest vendor of NoSQL like DataStax, Cassandra, and MongoDB, also Couchbase, they announced to be multimodal in the future. Actually, DataStax is already providing the 5.0 that is multimodal. So multimodal is becoming the future. Is somebody called like NoSQL 2.0. So with the NoSQL, thanks God, we have a revolution in the databases from the relational database, right? Like 40 years of relational database, the NoSQL changed everything. But now we're looking for something that can be still general purpose and with enterprise feature like security and other features that usually relational databases provide. Don't forget that most of the market is still in the hand of the relational databases. So today it's a $37 billion the market every year. Sorry, it's a 38 billion. About 37 is a relational database and 1 billion is a NoSQL. So the entire NoSQL vendor is just 1 billion. All the rest is relational databases. So relational databases are still, they have the biggest piece of the market. So what's a multimodal? How can you define multimodal? Multimodal is just one product able to manage different models at the same time. This is from Wikipedia, and the first multimodal was OrientDB in 2010, so like 6 years ago. We started with the multimodal, nobody cared, nobody was looking for a multimodal. So we started to change our website, like it's a graph document database, and people start using OrientDB in place of Neo4j or MongoDB. But now it's time for the multimodal, and we are very proud to push the multimodal concept to everybody. Even it's very, very new for most of you. So the multimodal is you have all different models at the same time in the engine. Okay, so it's like the intersection of all these models all together. But layers don't make multimodal. So if you have like a relational base with Hibernate, you can like relational and object is not a multimodal, right? It's just a layer. Or if you build a graph API like Vertex Edge, you can do like in a couple of days on top of a key value. It's not really multimodal, right? The same if you get like a common database and you put a graph API on top, it's not a really multimodal, right? So maybe from the user perspective, you can see a lot of models, but in the engine, you have layers. Layers means transformation. Like like from Hibernate, I don't know how many Java developers are here, but you have to change. So you think object-oriented, and then you have to change all your data in just flat tables. And when you create database, you have to reconstruct all the object-oriented domain from the tables. So it's a lot expensive. Maybe some framework like Hibernate, they do all the work for you in terms of writing code, but you have to pay this transformation, right? So the multi-model I'm talking here today is the real multi-model that all these models are built in the core, in the engine. And I like to talk about OrientDB. The community edition is free for any usage, released with Apache license, and open source. So you can use it for any usage, even production. Of course, the multi-model has a lot of features from other databases, right? So, for example, sharding. Okay, you can find sharding in MongoDB, but not in Neo4j. So if you want to do sharding, it's not supported by the graph database. So you always have to deal with all these differences between different products. What about domain? This is just taken from the e-commerce application. This is super simple. Like, I want a user, like an e-commerce website. I have a user with a review that review the product, a user or like purchase an order, a product, sorry, and a user have a live session, right? This is pretty common to every single website, e-commerce website. So with Polyglot persistence, you have to share the same data across multiple databases. For example, user is pretty much in every single database, but maybe the review is just in the recommendation engine, so maybe just Neo4j, right? The session, maybe you store the session just in Redis, because you want to keep everything super fast. The order in MySQL. The product, actually you have in MongoDB, but you want that the product is indexed, so also Elasticsearch, right? So it's becoming pretty complex because the same information could be duplicated across different databases. It's up to you, the synchronization. There's nothing that can do all for you. Your application or your ETL, you have to write the ETL, I don't know, like every night, just update the Neo4j, for example, with all the reviews every night. So you cannot have like super fresh reviews. You have to wait one day. And there is no anymore night. So today application has to work 24/7, so there is no night window frame anymore, right? With a multi-model, that's it. So the same database is able to handle all different domains at the same time. So it's super easy. So let's start. So multi-model, there are a lot of models. We don't talk today about the spatial and other like key value, but we are talking about the object model, about the reactive model, and the document model at the same time. If you need more information, you can look to the OrientDB documentation. You can find all the information you need. So what about the object model? Maybe most of you developers are familiar with object-oriented concept, inheritance, polymorphism. With OrientDB, we supported object orientation in the core. So vertices and edges, we created two base classes. So there is no table, there are classes in OrientDB. V stands for vertex, E for edge. So when you want to create like person, product, you extend the V class, okay? And for example, person can be extended as well in customer and provider. So when I extend the class, the base class, the class that extend, they inherit all the properties of the parent class. For example, I can put like name and surname here, and the customer provider will inherit name and surname. So this is object orientation inheritance. So I can create very complex models, and I can extend also this model very easily without touching my application. For example, I can design my application like select star from person where name equals something. I get customer provider. But if tomorrow I can create another category, I don't know, like presenter. I don't know if it makes sense. Presenter can extend person, right? So my application will retrieve all the new information about the new presenter class without changing the code, because this is polymorphism, right? So I'm query the base class. This is an example. So if I query select star from customer, I get Jill, right? If I want the provider, just Bruno and Luca. If I query the base class common to both customer and provider, I get all the instances. This is very really polymorphism at the database level. So there is no transformation. It's a database that is able to manage this kind of domain. This is another example of a real working application. It's more complex, so I can create like has like an edge class. So not only the vertex but also the edges. They can extend other classes. So I have this is an application to manage open source projects. I can have different products. For example, consultancy can be online and inside. Okay. And also the relationship has can be as consultancy and support. For example, as consultancy, I need for example, the address if it's on site. If it's remote, I don't need the address, right? So I can model my application like with the object-oriented language without compromises.
So on the coding view, how will you add the contract and product that has edge?
Right. So a contract as product.
Right.
And the has can be as a support. For example, I can specialize the relationship like support, consultancy, and I can tell to OrientDB that consultancy can only connect a contract to consultancy class. So I can set a lot of constraints if I want. And the fact that I'm setting consultancy doesn't matter which is the real class. And I can extend this model with adding class. I don't have to change my application because everything is working in a really polyformic way. Document model. So most of you guys are familiar with MongoDB, so this is very familiar for you. So document databases are great because you have the flexibility of the schemaless. You don't have to define any schema if you want it. It's natural in JSON, so you just grab a JSON, you store the JSON, you can insert the JSON, and you can define complex types, right? So you can do like nested documents. For example, here I want a name, I want details. You can have like arrays with different data. So document databases are great because they are very, very flexible. They have like a very flexible model, but they don't have a relationship. That's why we need the combination between graph database and document database. So how we did it? How we merged the document database model in OrientDB? Simple. Every single vertex or edge, they are documents. So in OrientDB, when you have a vertex on edge, inside, if you look into the vertex edge, they are documents. They are like JSON. This is the record ID. This is a property. So this is the primary key that already assigned. This is the class. So this is a customer and all the properties. If I want to set multiple relationships, I can see that there are like an arrays of record IDs. This is the way the OrientDB manages relationships. So if the object A and B, they are connected, and A is connected to B, in A, I will find an array of relationships with the pointers of the B, right? And the opposite. So in this way, I can cross the relationship between all the elements in my graph. So we work as schemaless. You can define a schema like a relational database, like constraint, this is mandatory, it cannot be null. Or you can work in a schema hybrid mode. This is the best one, where you can define maybe that you need just one phone number, but you let the application to add the additional fields, sorry. So you can define a schema for maybe 10 properties with a regular expression. This can be null, can be maximal. For example, in the collection, you can say the cardinality can be from 1 to 4, for example, okay? It's pretty rich, the model.
How will a matrix document look like? Will it have a series of objects like Jill and his orders and similarly all that? How will the document model look like for makes class?
You mean the relationships?
Yeah, relationships.
Yeah, in this case, you will have a properties called out, is an array of pointers. So we'll have out and like the pointers of the object that is connected. Reactive model. This is quite new. We released this in 2.1 as beta and 2.2 as a stable. Usually in your databases, if you want to create like an application that get all the new results, you have to poll the database to get the new result, right? So imagine like a Facebook-like application. When you connect to Facebook, you have like all the notifications are like real time, right? If somebody is writing to you, if somebody is adding you as a friend, but you really think that the application is polling Facebook every second to get the information. In this way, you can like break any website. If all the users at the same time. They just pull the server like every second. So the best way is using the reactive mode. The OrientDB support the reactive mode in the database level. So this is the classic way where this is the application, this is the database, this is an external data source, like something is arrived, right? So your application constantly, like every second, every 10 seconds, based on the load, you can get updates. But only when the update is coming, you have this window that you notify to the client. So if you have like every 10 seconds a polling, and in the worst case scenario, the event arrived just after you just asked for the polling, right? You have to wait like almost 10 seconds to get the result. And you are stressing the database a lot, especially if you have a lot of sessions. With the reactive model, it's much easier. So it's you can write SQL, but with live keyword as prefix. So live select from order where status is approved. So give me all the order they are approved. In this case, the client is publish subscribe, just register for this query, one or more queries. And the database is just waiting. So the session is just open. And as soon as the event is coming, in the same instant, in the same moment, you get the notification at application level. So you don't query the database, but you just waiting, the database is calling you in push mode. This is completely different, and you can support much more users in this way, because you don't have to stress database with a lot of users. Just when the event is coming, you return the result.
How is this different than using a Lambda function on AWS as this type of architecture? Like this is where you have someone inserting data, Lambda function calls, and execute your code.
Right. The approach is the same. It's a reactive. So there is the reactive manifesto. Actually, it's the same. It's the same things. But you have to design. You have to write this Lambda function. You have to integrate. You have to activate this Lambda function that maybe wake up your application. Your application at the time execute the query. Right.
Yeah.
In this way, it's just a way that provides you all the information that you need. Maybe you don't want just the information, but all the information and all the connected node at the same level of depth, for example. In this way, you can do that with just one call. So it's much more efficient, and it's super simple. It's just a matter of writing SQL with a live keyword as prefix. Okay? So we just analyzed 3 of the different models that OrientDB supports in the core, but there are different ones. So the spatial, you can execute query like, you can give me all the companies in this area. It's classic. But I want all the companies in where the building is inside this polygon. So you can index also polygons, very complex polygon, right?
But lat long pairs, or what? How does it do in spatial?
Yeah, you can do like XY course, or you can index polygon. So it's much more complex.
Actual shapes.
Right, shapes. So like pretty much the same like positions.
But so it does geospatial, so it does distance too? Out of
Yes,
the box?
absolutely, absolutely. There is a function distance.
Like it does haversine, or does like what? How does it do distance?
Sorry, say again?
How is it doing distance?
Oh, distance, we have the classic distance function that take consideration the cube of the globe.
So haversine.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of functions in OrientDB
Got it,
bundle.
got it.
And you can design your own function. We can see in the demo, is a live demo. So we can play with database. So with OrientDB, we can handle the complexity of super complexity of the data. So whatever data I have, I can put in database without compromises, without be obliged to change my model. And also the relationship, like a graph database, I can handle very complex relationship. Maybe the relational database so much success because it was a good compromise between relationship and data. So maybe that's why they last for 40 years. But with a multi-model, you have much more power and you can scale much better. Okay, time for the demo. Okay, so I want to start. Oh, you don't see I can mirror the screen. Okay, I'm just starting a couple of servers. OrientDB has a multi-master architecture, so if you need more power, just start another server. The other server is able to connect to the cluster automatically with 0 configuration. In this case, the server is starting, so they recognize the other server is starting. I don't know, maybe the font is not helping. I can, not really. Yes, okay. Okay, the two servers are online, okay? They are both on the same machine. Let's open Studio. So OrientDB has bundled the Studio. Studio is a web application. So OrientDB, there is a binary protocol, so most of the drivers communicate with the server with the binary protocol, but it exposes also HTTP and JSON natively. So you can actually open your browser and interact with OrientDB. This Studio is just a JavaScript HTML application that interacts with database with Azure Code. Just installed the Games of Thrones is an example, but if you click, or maybe I can, sorry. Okay, maybe you can see it better. No, okay. If you click on the cloud button, you can download the Games of Thrones, like Beer database, there are example databases you can play with. Okay, let's do Game of Thrones. Okay, I'm connected. So the first window is the browse. You can type any query here. We support SQL, Gremlin. Gremlin is the standard in graph databases language. Like select star from V. Why V? Who remembers V? What is V? Yes, V is the base class of the vertex. So since everything is polymorphic, if I'm putting V, I get all the vertices altogether, right? And this is the result. Even though it's a graph database, we prefer the default result is in tabular way, because everybody is more familiar with Excel tables. So you can see that every record has a own record ID. This is 330. This is the class name, crew, the version. The version is updated every time you update. So we manage the concurrency by using this version. I have all the properties, and I can see also the connection. This case just incoming. So I have two kinds of incoming connection, like has director, has writer. I can cross the relationship by just clicking on the record ID, but the most cool thing is that I can push this button to render the same table as a graph. Okay, so this is the same result, right? So it's a select star from V, but it's a rendered in graph way. This render, I can associate, so if I click on a vertex, I can see all the properties here. I can change the icon, the color, because this is crew, so I have people. It's much easier when I assign an icon and a color, so all the users can see the graph and can see my database in this way. So if I get this output to somebody that is not familiar with databases at all, they can understand the relationship between Games of Thrones. Okay. This graph editor is able to load all the edges automatically and in lazy mode. So if I double click on, for example, no connection. Okay, found one movie. Okay, maybe I'm more lucky. I got okay, right? So as soon as I click on the vertex, I can expand, I can cross my graph in this way. So this is the movie. I can cross. You can see there are more information. I can zoom in, zoom out. I can also change the disposition. There's a gravity here. And this tool is out of the box. So you don't have to buy, without a graph database, you have to buy different products that are very expensive to like this kind of rendering. With OrientDB is out of the box. It's open source, it's free. Okay, so you can interact with the graph editor. It's just not to display your graph. You can also interact with the graph. For example, maybe I can get some famous character from Game of Thrones, but anyway, doesn't matter. I can, if I click on the vertex, have this kind of menu where I can change the properties. Sorry that it's not really, so the font is very small. You can see all the properties of the vertex and also the type. Because I can change, this is schemaless, so I can change also the types. Or I can cross the relationship in this way. For example, if I want to cross from here, okay, as that only has director, so if there are multiple connections, I can just pick one connection, one traverse, not everything. I can create a new connection. So I want that this vertex is connected to, I don't know, this one, okay? And OrientDB will open the pop-up to select the kind of relationship I want to create. So I have a lot of relationship here. On this database has been imported from wiki something. There is a website about Games of Thrones, so we just imported all the information. Like as this as killed. There is also the who killed what. Killed by. Okay, cool.
There you go.
Killed by. Next. You can have properties, so maybe killed by when, okay? You can have like a date, so this is schemas, right? So you can add like a date time field, you can pick a date and whatever. And you can create the edge, okay? So I just created the edge. So it's not just a rendering mode, I can interact with the graph in this way. So somebody that doesn't know nothing about SQL databases, they can work with the graph in this way. Sorry, the font doesn't help, but you have a legenda here, so you can see different colors, the meaning of the vertex and edges. Cool. I have a schema. So the second button is the schema. Schema means that I have a lot of classes, edges, vertices. I can represent different classes with the different colors. And these too many details, but anyway, I can change the property of the class. For example, I can create a new property of the class of type name, string, minimum. So for the string, the minimum maximum is the number of character. With the date is the range of dates. With the array is the number of items in the array, in the collection. So min max assumes different values, different meaning based on the kind. This is mandatory. Oh, read-only is cool because when you create the vertex, you can never change the property. So it's like a mutable property.
So what will happen if you don't fill the min and max?
There is no constraint. You can do whatever you want. There is no limitation actually. I can create also indexes. We have like unique, not unique index. The full text index is using Lucene. Lucene is the same engine behind Solar and Elasticsearch. It's the same engine. Okay, so this is the schema. So I can actually create a schema because maybe I want a constraint in my model. I want to enforce my model. So schema is very cool, but sometimes I need my data is under boundaries. Security. By default, OrientDB has a user a role, pretty much the same like a relational basis. So I can assign that this user has this role. Can be multiple roles. So I can also assign, other roles. And every single role has the map of what can I do, what can I do. So, for example, the writer, this is the default user. So every time you create a database, you have an admin, reader, and writer. The writer can write and read some classes. Or you can define your own role.
Can you define multiple databases on the same server?
Absolutely. This is another limitation that Neo4j has. So Neo4j, one database, one server. If you need a 10 database, you need 10 servers. With OrientDB, you can have 1,000 databases. Another cool thing is not here in Studio, but we have horizontal security. Means that every single vertex or edge can be secure in different ways. So I can decide that if I create a content, right, like documents, I can define that my documents can be written, sorry for my English, by me only, and you cannot read my documents, even if it's the same class. So if you do select stuff from document, you can see all your document. If I do the same, I see my documents. So it's pretty much the same like a Linux file system, where you decide that every single file has different properties, different level of security.
How well supported is your Python package?
Sorry, which package?
Your Python.
Okay, we have a binary driver in Python. So actually it's using the binary protocol, so and it's updated to the last version. Python doesn't support like query, so the reactive maybe not supported. I have to double check, and maybe it doesn't support the distributed mode. With distributed, just Java and Node.js, you can kill servers, and the client automatically switch to the next server without failure at the application level. So not all the drivers support this, but we are working with the driver authors to support this feature from every driver, at least the most common. Like there is a driver for Elixir. I don't know how many people know Elixir. It's like new language. It's like a driver with all the features. Because the company sponsored this driver because they were using Elixir framework. So this security, the horizontal security is a very cool feature. Maybe your application you already have your security, but if you set the security at the database level, even if there is like a breach in your code, somebody writes to the database, they can never read the data that they are not allowed to because the user. Okay, function. This is a cool feature where you can extend ODB by using JavaScript. So you can create a YAML function. Let's create hello JavaScript. Now there is only JavaScript and SQL. SQL is like stored procedure, just using SQL. But actually we can support every single language supported by the JVM. So also JPython, there are users that are using different languages. But out of the box we support just JavaScript and SQL. So I wanna this function get a name, right? And return hello name, right? Say my function, cool. So if I query, okay, see if I do select name, hello, of name, you can see name is a property of these vertices, right? Select hello name from V, you can see that, sorry, the font doesn't help. You can see the result. So I just extended the SQL with just my function. It's very fast, the JavaScript, because the JavaScript is not interpreted by its compiler in bytecode, so it's very fast. Okay, and last thing about the function is that games of Jones function Luca. Oh, the name of the function is hello Luca. Okay. So every function is exposed automatically in the HTTP JSON service. So I can call every function like in microservices architecture from the external. This case doesn't allow because I didn't define that this function is idempotent because I'm using HTTP GET. So with the post I have no problem, but with the GET, the protocol says that I have to define if it's idempotent or not because I cannot understand if you're changing the database here because you can change also the database. I can see you a demo. So, okay, I save as this is idempotent. I can call the function. You can see the result is JSON, is a hello Luca, okay? Because I passed Luca as a first parameter, is positional in this case, okay? So, we have a gaming company, a big gaming company in Europe that are using just OrientDB and all the function to do analytics on top of OrientDB, just function. They created like a dashboard in HTML, they use the Ajax and just execute all these query in the database. So it's like a stored procedure 2.0, and you can use JavaScript.
Do you have instructions on how to deploy this to AWS?
Yeah, in AWS we have an official image, and in a few weeks we will release the Elastic scalable version, where from AWS you can configure the scaling options. OrientDB will add server or kill server based on the load. So we'll be ready in a few weeks actually.
And it supports clustering and redundancy and all of that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. We support also cross data center, but just only the enterprise edition, sorry. Cross data center replication. So some all these features are from in the community edition. Like everything you've seen right now is just free. We have additional features like Kerberos plugin for the security if you have like LDAP. So you don't want to create a user here, but in your LDAP you can use the enterprise edition. There's the auditing, so you want to monitor who is reading which data in the database, so it's just logged. You have a SQL profiler, so you can see which query is taking more time. So there are additional, and it's much easier to configure a cluster with the enterprise edition. But still, the computation is full working. You can have 1,000 servers connected.
Got it. In terms of the nodes themselves, do you have something that allows for bulk import of data?
Absolutely.
Very quickly and
Yeah,
batch?
I have a slide later. Yeah, our ETL, and there's another tool. Okay, so this is Studio. Maybe, I have an enterprise edition under the hood, and I'm not sure. I Let me check. No, okay. So server management, you can see all the users connected here. Okay, so I can see all the users, so it's just me, is requesting HTTP, you know, but you can see every user, what is doing, which query, you can kill the session. So this tool, you can manage almost you can schedule backup, restore, this is just Enterprise Edition, but with the server manager, you can do a lot of things. And we have a peer-to-peer architecture, so it's not an application that is connected to OrientDB, but every OrientDB peer is able to control the entire cluster. So you just need to be connected to just one node, and that node is able, if user password are okay, to control the cluster.
What about the node limit and the data limit?
Like in terms of servers?
Yeah, like the number of nodes, like Neo4j can do 10 quadrillion nodes. for
Oh,
example.
we have, the last version they improved the
Yeah.
number. It's on the website, but it's more than trillions. I don't remember, but like hundreds of trillions. I don't remember the number, but on the website you can find it. We use a 64 plus 16 pointers, so it's like, so it's pretty huge. I never seen somebody run out of vertex. Maybe if you load the entire internet, you still have space. But we never tested these boundaries because it's very, very big. We have a client with a production a lot of servers. The biggest installation is 105 servers, where 5 servers are master and 100 servers are replica only. You can do master, it's the default, and replica only. If you want to like analytics, if you want to do report, you can, or you want to distribute data without be like super updated, you can have a lot of replicas. Okay, this was Studio. It was the demo. Did you like Studio?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, that was awesome.
Okay, let me kill the nodes. How much time do we have? Okay, we are almost done. Okay. Oh, if you are interested to this demo, you can go to graph.orb.com, and there is a more beautiful demo. You can play with the character of the Games of Thrones. Okay, so the idea of multimodal is that they are flexible enough to support different and multiple purposes domains. So we have clients that use the OrientDB in the IoT with a very small device like a Raspberry Pi device, because it's Java and the footprint is very low. And we have installation with a lot of servers. But so just to pick 4 use cases where OrientDB is very, very good, I can say the classic transaction, where you use usually relational base. We have ASI transaction. So it's weird for a NoSQL database to have transaction, because the NoSQL is more on event-only consistency. You can tune event-only consistency if you want, but by default it's ASI transaction. We have SQL, because we thought that everybody knows SQL, so why invent another language? We can just extend SQL to support graphs and trees. You can work schemaful like a relational base with the constraint, and transactions are distributed on multiple servers. The second one is when you have a lot of data, you don't know very much about the data, so you just work schemaless, you just put data in a database, and you need a very flexible database where every single kind of data can be stored. And if you want to go super fast, you can set up the sharding like MongoDB or Cassandra, and you can also relax the consistency to be eventual consistency if you don't want a strong consistency. The other one is when you have events. So you want to log events. The reactive model is the best one. So OrientDB is super fast. So on my computer is able to store more than 200,000 events per second. Thanks to the ETL and the reactive mode, it's very easy to create a reactive application when you have a lot of events at the same time. So it's very easy to push events and also to create applications that get real-time notification. The last one is a hybrid. So this is the most common use case, when you have the database to store information and analytics in the same database. You don't have to create ETL, data warehouse, analytics, you don't have to do that. You can use the same database, multiply for more servers if you don't want to put too much load on the same server. with a graph database, you don't have the join cost. So all the reason why we created data warehouses, they don't exist anymore.
So
Because
does that
of the
mean you
graph.
can go against Vertica and stuff like that?
Vertica is mostly in memory database, right? Yeah, you can assign a lot of memory, but also if you don't have a lot of memory, OrientDB is very efficient on disk because we have pointers, so we can retrieve data without using the index. That is the main problem of databases. You can also set up the SLA of the query. So the query, when you execute the query, you can say this query can be maximum 5 seconds. And there are two strategies. So after 5 seconds, just retrieve an error, throw an error, or just retrieve all the data that you are collected in 5 seconds, right? So you can set up the SLA of your application so you never shut down your server because you have a lot of users that are doing very, very expensive query. So you can do that in a global setting or per query. So select start from blah blah, limit, timeout, and the number of milliseconds of the query timeout. Even though most of NoSQL they don't care about security, we are very focused thanks to a bank that sponsor almost all of this feature. Yeah. So we have
That's
capitals, we have the salt in the password, user role, record level security, auditing, HTTPS, a lot of features. What about scalability? So I've already mentioned that every server is a master. So if you have 1 or 10 servers, you can write on every single server. You don't have to get them. So for example, Neo4j, the guys, they are gone, but Neo4j, for example, is just master slave. So if you want to do a write, you have to write to just one server, or in this case, you talk to a replica that talk to the master. So no matter if you have one on the server, if you have just one server that is master, the bottleneck is a master, right? With OrientDB, you can have as many master as you want, is the default one. There is an discovery, so if the multicast is enabled, it doesn't work in the cloud. In the cloud, you have to plug in, for example, in Amazon, we have a plugin that adds to the Amazon the list of the IPs, so you don't have to configure the IP. You just add the server, they can recognize each other, and the first time, by default, they get the database, and when the database is installed transparently, all the clients connected to the other server, they are notified in push mode about the new server. So in case, for example, these two clients that were connected to this server, if this server crashes, this client, they know about the next server to connect. So all the clients are independent, they have all the information about the cluster. And there's no failure at application level. It just works. If you have a transaction running, the same transaction is repeated on the next server, okay? Usually I have a demo. I did this demo in the Graph Day in Austin, January, when I just killed the server, and the application was resilient and was able to survive even if you kill a lot of servers. Okay, so Amazon already mentioned the auto scalability version that will support the auto scale feature of Amazon. It's pretty cool. So all these features, you can have synchronous, asynchronous replication. You can do sharding. For example, Neo4j you cannot do sharding, and for Neo4j is an anti-pattern using sharding. With the graph database, it's more complex than a document database because we have relationships. So if you span the graph across one of the server and you want to cross the relationship, and maybe that vertices are stored in different server, you have a lot of latency. So this is right. But with the sharding and with the proper sharding, you have very good performance by minimizing this latency. In the next release, in 3.0, we will support automatic sharding and a Prager-like algorithm. So when you execute a select, OrientDB will be able to split the query and execute the query across in optimized mode across all the servers. So this is already working. It's a manual sharding now, so you have to decide that piece of graph goes in this server or in this one. Okay, because by default, automatic never works very well. So it's up to you. We suggest to just configure it by yourself. But in 3.0, you can execute any query, and the query will be optimized with the Prager algorithm from Google. It will be efficient even with a lot of servers. Okay, with the Polyglot persistent, when you have to put in HA an application, it's a mess. If you have a lot of databases, every database has a different policy in a high availability mode. So for example, most of the databases, they require at least 3 servers, right? MySQL, I find documentation, just 2 are enough. So in this case, you need 13 servers to put all your application in availability. And this is too much. This is very expensive, even for Donald Trump. So with the multi-model, actually, it's super easy. You just need 3 servers. So the same server, you can replicate 3 times. You have all the data in 3 servers, okay? By the way, if you're using the function we already seen in the demo, so your data and your business logic in the same database, when you replicate the database, both data and function is replicated. So you can create like these boxes, OrientDB, it's the next slide, sorry. You connect the OrientDB box with data and logic is all in the same place. With embedded mode, if you're using a Java language, Scala, or any other language on top of the JVM, you can have OrientDB in the same JVM. So you don't pay the network latency between client and server. So client server actually reside in the same JVM. This is the most efficient thing ever, because even if you have a lot of queries, you never pay the transport between the client server. It's not always applicable, so you have to use Java or any other language. But in this, you have a lot of kind in this case with this use case.
No.
Sorry?
Node.js?
Node.js, no, actually, because no, it's not compatible, 100% compatible. And this way, you can still have a replication. So you have these boxes with all together your application, and OrientDB, and you replicate these boxes a lot of times. So they're still working clustering. Okay, what about integration? You can use, so we provide a JDBC driver, so whatever tool talks with JDBC just works. But we provide our ETL, it's super simple, just a matter of JSON configuration. Maybe it's not really readable, anyway. So you configure the extractor, in this case the JDBC, so it's MySQL. So get MySQL, send it from client, so execute this query from a SQL, transform just every client is a class client, is a better of type client, and it's stored in OrientDB database. You can do a lot of things in transformation, like I don't want this field, like 2 fields are just the same with the concat function. You can do a lot of transformation in the data. So in this way, you can just import data from any relational base, CSV, and JSON. So we have clients that use this ETL to import from MongoDB, from Parse, when Parse was killed from Facebook. We have also Teleporter, this is a news, and no other NoSQL database has this feature. Teleporter is a tool that is able to connect to any relational database between Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres. Just get the entire database and import in OrientDB as a graph, sorry. So if you have foreign keys, is the database well defined, it's completely automatic, just one button. In one button, you import the entire database in OrientDB. And if you're using, for example, Hibernate, the importer is able to recognize that this is like an inheritance, right, with the tables, and is able to restore the inheritance in OrientDB natively. Okay, it's very powerful. And we will support also the importing from MongoDB directly and Neo4j in the future. It's very easy to import from
When is the
Neo4j.
Mongo one come?
Sorry?
When are you gonna have the Mongo?
In the 3.0, so end of the year.
End of the year?
Or beginning
This
of
is
the next year.
enterprise, or?
This is enterprise. But you can use enterprise in trial for 45 days. So if you want to do like one-time importing, you can use it. But if you want to do synchronization, you need the enterprise edition. So for most of the cases, you just need a one-time importing.
Okay, so let me say this back to you. So I can hook up to a relational database, one of those 4 relational databases.
Right.
And it will engineer all the joins and everything and bring the whole
That's
thing
right.
into a graph database.
That's right. Like
Sold.
one button. One button. Because we've seen that it's a pain. If you have already data, okay, graph is cool, but if you have data, you never start from scratch, right? So with this tool, is pretty much intelligent and smart to import data in the right way. You can define, so by default that just works, but you can define, hey, I don't want this table or this relationship, can you invert the cardinality? So you can specify more properties. There is a new product that will be out in a few months, will be built on top of this. So in the next one we will have a press release about a new project based on Teleporter that will be able to do much more. But anyway, with just a reporter, you are able to import data in just one click. And if you wanna, in most of the cases, clients already have, for example, Oracle and million investment with the legacy application, they can never, shut down all these legacy applications or porting the entire data and application OrientDB would be too expensive. So in this way, with enterprise edition only, you can synchronize every X minutes, every day, every whatever. So you can keep your Oracle database as master, and OrientDB is a replica, always updated. So the new application, new analytics can be developed on top of OrientDB, and the existing legacy application can still working with Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server. So this is the best way to enter in the companies that they don't trust really too much about NoSQL. They have Oracle. They spend a lot of money. I can understand. There's a lot of value, the skill in a product. So you cannot just change the product, change the database. Database is a piece of software that stays for years in companies. It's not like a mobile application that you can change this install in your phone. So something that has to be trusted and it stays for a lot of time. So integration is the key for OrientDB. I already mentioned the JBC driver. So if you have like Cognos, IBM, Pentao, they all work with OrientDB through the JBC driver. So you can do analytics and reporting. We have the Spark driver. The reporter and ETL are able to synchronize from relational basis.
What is your cost model for the enterprise edition? Is it based on seats, database size?
It's based on servers.
On servers.
Yeah, it's so the base price is $6,500 per server with 24% support per year. But if you have a startup, you have half price. Or if you don't need 24/7, just 10/5 with the UK time zone, costs like for 4,000 instead of 6,500. It's pretty flexible, and you just pay per server. With Amazon, you don't pay OrientDB, but you pay on Amazon Marketplace, so you just pay per use. So maybe you start with one server, and you have the auto scale. Maybe in the weekend we have a peak of access, and you consume 10 servers. You just pay 10 servers for the weekend. Sorry for my voice. Okay, what about OrientDB? So even though it's not very popular, it's something very new, multimodal. We are the fastest growing database in the top 50 database ever. So we reach now the 42 database ever. But in the graph database, we have the second one. So the first one in Neo4j, we have the second one actually. And the document store in all the document database, we have the sixth. Not bad. And the key value, we are the sixth. So if you want to use OrientDB as a key value, we have a lot of choices like Redis, but you can still use OrientDB. This is the DB engine. It's just a website that measures the popularity of the database, not the fastest, just the popularity of the database in the community, between users.
So how are you doing on speed on the key value store? Are you competing relatively well?
If you want just a key value, I suggest you to use Redis. It's much faster. That's it. But if you have a key value and other things, instead of having different products, OrientDB is a very good choice.
So is your compromise to try and be the best graph database and then bring everything else along? Or I assume that you have a set of criteria that sort of follow, and what are yours?
That's right. The graph database is the key. We have about half of the client, they just want to use OrientDB as a graph database because we have the same standard of Neo4j. So if you use the standard, it's drop-in replacement. In just 1 hour, you can switch to OrientDB. It's very easy. But yeah, so in the beginning, most of the users use OrientDB as a graph database, document database, but now most of the users are coming from the relational base and from other databases to use OrientDB as a multimodal. So multimodal is becoming hot this year, actually, would be the next big thing in the database market.
But that's always been core since the beginning. I guess that's kind of what.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you guys have always been,
Yes.
the core was always to cover.
Absolutely.
As
There is
being-
no layer, there is no type, there is no layer at all.
So you just,
That's
you were just really early, you're
Right.
too early to the dance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was too early that we have to redefine our strategy as we have a graph document database, everybody understand. Graph document is fine. But now multimodal, so everybody announced to be multimodal, so that's fine.
Are these guys ranking multi-model yet?
No, there is no. There is no, and actually, that's why we are in different categories for this reason, because there is no multimodal category, actually.
Who's your biggest competitor?
Uh,
On the multi-model front?
Now, I guess DataStax, Cassandra, because in the 1 month ago, 2 months ago, they announced to be multi-model, so they support graph and column database. They have these two models built on the same database.
Isn't that still I mean, did they fix the layering issue, or is it still, because it was always kind of a dual, wasn't really core.
I don't want to say that. I don't know, actually. I never.
Well, I mean,
Going
I
to-
used it, so I was gonna use Cassandra and then I used Mongo, because I didn't need the capability at the time. But it was always like a dual, it didn't seem core, it was always like a dual kind of.
I don't know, actually. I know the team, Aurelius, was the developer of Titan.
Yeah.
All the graph database. There's not anymore, so DataStax acquired Aurelius to create this. I don't know. I know that the team is very good, but I don't know the implementation is if it's a layer or not. Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's the only multi-model database.
Yeah, I don't wanna say that either, but
Yeah.
it seemed like it,
I don't know.
yeah.
But for sure, in the next months, other multi-model bases will rise and will be new competitors for sure.
Are any of your users using really fine-grained security across all the different data models? And are there any problems that come up when you try and do that?
When you use this kind of security, it just could be slower. So usually it's 15 to 25% slower because we have a lot additional security, additional checks, especially when you have query. So all the queries are to be filtered for you.
So I imagine there's scenarios where you could probably bring yourself pretty slow if you did certain combos.
Depends by the query. Sometimes it's like 5%, but we see average is 15 to 25% as a low, as a.
Ever seen a
It's lower.
scenario where they really crushed, somebody does a configuration where they crushed the performance? Like,
Not really, but usually during a proof of concept, they experiment this feature and they can decide if they want to go or not. OrientDB is very fast, so maybe the just 15% is okay, but if you are looking for extreme performance, don't use the regular security. But if you're okay with the performance with the security, it's fine. But
well,
if
you said
you're
you had a
looking for-
bank using it, right? So
Yeah.
I imagine, they're using it for online and all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, also multi-tenant application.
Multi-tenant?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
so-
can have in the same server having like different databases, usually one database per client, but you can have, so one database per client is awesome because it's super, black sandbox, but if you have like a back office that actually queries across all the databases, it's a pain. In this way, with the horizontal security, you have still one database and you can execute so the super user can do query across all the records. So pros and cons. We won the BOSS award. It's the best open source technology in databases in last year, and other magazine just review OrientDB. Even though we don't spend money marketing actually at all, but it's still growing and it's becoming very popular. This is our. If you want to learn OrientDB, the best thing is the free course on Udemy platform. We already have 15,000 of students. They already have got this score, and we have also a very good rating. Actually, this is free. Of course, it's not really deep course. You just get the basic of the SQL, of all the features. So if you wanna if you wanna go in deep, like in the Java binding, using from Java, for example, you have to get the documentation and be like Java or Node.js or Python, different languages. But this is perfect if you want to start with OrientDB, and you have this video course with also quiz. It is very easy. We support 24/7, and we started to support this last year, and most of the clients they switched to the support. So if you want to go in production, you want to support, we can cover you. Who is using OrientDB so far? So it's not very popular. Looks like a new technology, but we have a lot of clients. 1,000 clients actually use it, and I just put in this slide the most common from US market. So we have, for example, Dell using OrientDB in Dell Statistica. So Dell Statistica, the new version, has has OrientDB embedded. We have so these are very very common. Sonatype, just Java developers know Sonatype. Sonatype is who is hosting the artifact of Maven. So the Nexus is using OrientDB to manage all the libraries. This is a company that is doing voting. Everybody everybody knows ADP, Comcast, Verizon, right? Barclays. So we have different, and every company has a different, very different use case from each other. So the multi-model can be used in really different way. Sky, I think this is a European company. It's like Comcast, but in Europe. So maybe nobody knows. And also United Nations. Also cancer.gov uses OrientDB, and they actually published a very good paper about the switching from MySQL to OrientDB. That like a lot of level of nesting, they get like 1,000 performance more from MySQL. There's a interesting, you can look on internet, you can find on Google. We have partner like Docker, we are official partner now, we are becoming partner with Red Hat and Debian. And we have also the partner that are more local partner. So we like to meet a local company, not very big, usually are the best partner, that can help us to push our technology under companies actually, and they create maybe customize, they create the final solution by using OrientDB. So this is the best way we can work with clients. We are partnered with pretty much the biggest vendors, so Amazon, of course, Azure. We have official images on all these clouds. So if you're on the cloud, just pick the last version of OrientDB on the cloud. This is the last slide. So the goal of OrientDB is not to be yet another NoSQL in the arena of 300 products. We want to be the database, the enterprise database that can be chosen as alternative or relational database of multiple NoSQL products at the same time. So this is our vision. This is how we started. Even though a lot of clients use OrientDB as a graph database, but it's much more than a graph database. And I hope that with this presentation you realize that there is a lot of things here. There are more features. Maybe it takes 10 hours to cover all the features. So if you go to the website or you go on SlideShare, there are my other presentation. You can see other features cover more in depth than this one. Thank you guys. If you have questions, there are t-shirts here. So grab your t-shirt and sticker if you want it. Maybe the pizza is still warm and beer, I don't know. If you have other questions about the company, about the product, I'm here.
Are you gonna make the slides available?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the video has been recorded, so you can find online.
Great. Glad I started downloading earlier. I'm actually gonna use it. I think you emailed me twice on LinkedIn on that. You sent out the whole list.
Oh,
You actually have that running on the Raspberry
Yeah, I
Pi?
was like, no,
Yeah.
That
Works pretty well.
Yeah.
although
we suggest to use the Oracle JVM.
I think I
because
would-
it's much more
I think
efficient than
there's a
the
conflict
Right.
It's
with
much
like
better.
these guys.
As I mentioned, the
Well,
on-premise
it's on
problem,
graph
we were looking
Yeah,
at
with
the
graph day
store.
too.
Oh, you went
It's like, you know,
But
that's another,
Fixed
another
product was like
deployment. So that's why it doesn't make sense to maybe
Was it with the
try it.
Quite a bit of two schedule.
Yeah,
It was
I
two
mean,
schedules at the same time,
Right.
and it was, that was like
big.
hard because it was like
IoT,
they're almost like
you know,
competitors. That is the only
so
critique that they
different,
had.
completely
I don't
different.
remember anything
Right.
else.
But
Yeah,
with
it's hard.
the Oracle JDK and OrientDB is really like the right configuration
Yeah.
takes just a few megabytes to be uploaded.
Are you just looking for any feedback? I was like,
we deal with industrial,
you're just looking for any
they're not talking
feedback?
Raspberry Pi,
Right,
but
yeah.
that would even get beyond their IT department, so you have to go for.
Did you get a lot of answers
industrial
back?
ones That's been blessed with
Right, I know.
Red Hat or, you know, whatever.
Very cool.
This one in
It's cool to see you guys.
is Austin
Some of these.
Instruments.
Checking these
Texas-
out.
No, Texas Instruments. There's another company here.
National Instruments.
Right.
I used to work on.
Okay, cool.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, the client.
Yeah, no, this is great. My colleague could make it tonight, and so yeah, that's why I was actually slightly cool. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I'm very excited about
Like
it.
it.
So I'm interested in a little bit more of a comment on the security model. So what we're doing in the company I'm in, it's called S-File. We work for the oil and gas industry. We extract data from very complex documents. And the documents have metadata that everybody would like to be able to see. So we've got that document model, but then we're extracting it into key value stores, and also we have some object models. So we're using the data for a lot of different things. And so a lot of people need to be able to see metadata, but some of the data is very, very sensitive, so they want to limit who in the corporation has access to it, and they want to know who accessed it and when. So some of it's wide open and some not so much. So in that particular scenario, do you have, if you store the entire document inside of Vertex, then how do you control access to the internals of that?
You can define, so the regular security you can enable just for one class if you want it. So the database will be super fast and just one class you want to have. Or you can also enable auditing. So with the auditing enabled, you can track everyone that is looking for the data.
So you can set it up very, very explicitly on a document type by document type basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, in this case, it makes sense that class with the sensitive information to enable the OrientDB profiling.
Okay.
And maybe also auditing, so you can track every single change or read if you want to do an auditing. So the auditing is the feature that they keep the CEO out of the prison. We call that. It's only available enterprise edition, but anyway, it's
So the enterprise edition is 6,500 per server.
Right.
So how do you handle large servers, small servers? Is it just
We have a limit on 256 gigabyte of RAM. If you have more RAM, you have to pay double license.
Okay.
But usually with like Raspberry Pi devices or startups, or maybe people like the companies that embed ODP, we have a OEM license model.
Okay.
So I don't know, you sell your product for $100, we get $5.
Okay.
It's more flexible.
Okay.
We actually,
Are you actually in Austin or are you from outside?
I live between Austin and Rome, exactly.
Oh, Austin and Rome, wow.
Yeah, and London, because the company is in London.
It's where?
It's in London, the company.
Oh, in London, okay.
I am in Austin like 3 times a year, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I will be here till October 15th, in case if you want to do like a presentation in your company, there's no problem. I usually do that.
Yeah, at some point I'd like for you to talk to our CEO is like yourself. He's a very technical guy, and he wrote a lot of the original part of our product, and now there's more of us coming on board. But he would have been really interested to have heard this. He lives in Houston, and he's actually traveling right now, so he couldn't come anyway. So, can I get your card?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I've got one of mine with me or not.
Yeah. Well, just, I used to,
I think
so
I've got one. I should.
I had like 300, I worked for, I don't know if you ever heard Rolling Info. I used to run operations, I ran ops, I ran all the data operations. And
My name's Mark Marshall. I'll send you an email and just
Perfect.
introduce myself.
Awesome.
And even.
But very
even we
interesting
had
talk.
too much. So
You know,
I can't imagine, like,
I've heard about
so,
OrientDB
you know what I mean?
off and on, but I just sort of saw the talk and said, oh, well, I'll go hear it. And after hearing it, I think what you're doing is very relevant to where we're headed.
Yeah, the data, the actual.
Right now, we've got the
had
Polyglot
somebody
problem
who
that you're
was
describing.
dealing with
You know,
the
we've got
actual-
at least 3 databases and they're
instrumentation
popping
data,
up
yeah.
like weeds.
It's a
So
big
Coming off.
it
just
is
the months.
really a big
Costs a lot. Works,
And it was
but
like-
costs a lot.
And
You
we
know,
have
it was
clients
like
that
taking the data
use,
feed from
these
Google
oil
and
companies have,
I mean,
they're very
like,
relational oriented.
you know,
They all got some Oracle, some SQL Server, and
Exxon is
some.
our client. Exxon is already our client.
Did you something
So,
with that?
excellent.
I don't know if maybe another
They're not our client yet,
Deleting it,
but
or
we're
else
working with
going nowhere, and
BP.
once you
We're
didn't
working with
capture
a
it
lot
right
of
then,
mid-sized
it was
oil
gone.
companies. A mid-sized oil company is like $2 billion company, but, you know, the big companies are never big. But, yeah, Chevron, we're doing some for Chevron.
I mean, detecting,
Exxon tends to
like
do a lot of their own
we were
stuff.
talking
They
to,
don't,
you know,
they try and keep
rights
everything
owners,
inside. The other oil
like
companies
people
are much
siphing
more
off
open.
tanks, right?
Yeah,
So.
We don't know
you could-
anything
I
about
mean,
their use case.
surely
It's
you'd wanna
super
check
top
the
secret.
level of the tank.
That's the way they work.
And
Yeah, they don't tell
Right,
you.
And we
you know
cannot
what I
use
mean?
the
Like,
logo
whatever,
in the
I forget the
website.
name of the tank, right, but there's an overflow
It's like-
tank, so that people would actually,
Yeah,
like,
Apple,
go and
but
fill
we
the
can
tank,
use the
or like
logo
pull
on
right
the
off the
website,
people's
just for
property.
information.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, that
Good.
seems trivial,
Very
but,
interesting talk. Thank you. I appreciate
if
it.
10 people do it a month,
Zero.
and they, you know, it's, could be $15,000, $20,000, somebody's stealing from you. So like if you could monitor like a drop in the tank, you could turn on the camera, you know, and get a license plate.
Yeah, I accepted the request before the meeting.
Yeah, Lindsay.
You're on the system administrator, right?
I was doing more like this.
Oil remediation for
Company, how you work.
Spain,
I'm working for it.
Yeah, well, just
So they're leaking.
percents, yeah.
They're leaking into the.
Millions of dollars, well, but then you could replace the tank,
Yeah.
And
right, and you have the EPA.
It's an expensive,
like
it's program,
exact
it's
copy.
very expensive program. This
But,
thing is so.
I was working for